Hello and welcome to The Penny Chef. Today we are going to be making soft-baked pretzels from Sally's Baking Recipes. Super excited about this. I love a good salty snack and I found that this recipe was incredibly easy and simple to make. So here we go. Here are our ingredients. To list them in order by use, we are going to use first water and a packet of yeast, then light brown sugar, salt, and butter, followed by all-purpose flour, and lastly baking soda and more water. And to start us off, we're going to add warm water, approximately 100 degrees Fahrenheit, to our bowl, and this bowl is going to go on the stand mixer. As you can see here, the temperature is going to be a bit above 100 degrees, but I wasn't too worried about that because I know the bowl itself is not hot, so I think the temperature is going to cool a little bit, and it's not so hot that it's going to kill the yeast or anything. So now I am adding that packet of yeast to the warm water, and it's right now sitting on top of the water, so we're going to whisk that in. We want it to dissolve, and then we're going to let it sit for 1 minute. So here it is. It's just going to sit there for 1 minute. It doesn't really change in appearance during that 1 minute. A little boring, but here we go. We're going to add our salt now. It's just iodized salt. We're going to add 1 teaspoon and just dump that right in. I'm not going to mix it in between adding the other ingredients, just going to throw it all in, then whisk it together, and then start to put it on the stand mixer to use the dough hook and mix that. I have just added the 1 tablespoon of light brown sugar, and then I've added a tablespoon of butter as well. The butter is supposed to be melted. I wasn't very conscious of the temperature here. I don't think that you need to be. I didn't notice any negative results from having warm melted butter added in, so just I would go with that. And then here we have the dough hook all set up on the stand mixer. So I'm going to lower that in and then start to slowly add in my flour. I did turn this on so that it was mixing as I started adding the flour. It did make a mess. I know I'm not great with the stand mixer. I get flour everywhere. So we're going to add in more of the flour now. I added it in thirds, so there were about 9 different scoops of flour going in over the course of a couple minutes. I do think that I made it look a little bit difficult here, but I really was trying to have the stand mixer do most of the work for me. So I did scrape the sides at some points just to make sure that it was mixing all the flour in, so when it came down to getting the dough ready for me to knead, that there wasn't that much left for me to do other than knead it and then add a little bit of flour to reduce some stickiness. So here we are adding more of the flour. You can certainly add this quicker than I did. And again, it's all trial and error. Hindsight is 20/20, so looking back, yes, I also would have added it quicker. I do find it really interesting how even with such similar ingredients, you can make so many different things. Like here we're making pretzels, but we could easily be making a kind of bread. And then within the bread category, there's so many different kinds using very, very similar ingredients as well. So you can see that we are starting to achieve some more tackiness in the dough. So definitely making progress here. So we've kept adding flour incrementally to the dough, and we are reaching the point where we've added just about 3 cups in total of flour. There it is. That's what we want. We can see that the dough is not too sticky, but it's pretty well mixed together, and we are ready to knead it. So I've spread some flour out on the countertop over here, and we're just going to start kneading this. Okay. I'm no expert in kneading, definitely don't have all that much arm strength, but we're going to do our best for about 3 minutes, and we're just going to make sure that this is all looking nice and smooth, make sure there's no air bubbles, no uneven spots, and then I'm adding more flour as I go because there is a bit of stickiness as I'm pressing my hand into it. I think this is a great recipe for beginners. I found the dough to be very forgiving, it was very pliable, I didn't have any issues with kneading it, and I think that most people would find it pretty easy to do. So once I've finished kneading it, I am going to cover it with a towel, and then I'm going to leave it for about 10 minutes, and the dough is going to rise. While that's rising, I've put about 8 cups of water on to boil, and I've added a 1/3 cup of baking soda to that water. And then once the dough has risen, what I'm going to do here is just start to section it out. I'm splitting it into 8 pieces. The recipe said that the dough would yield about 8 pretzels, so I'm just going ahead and assuming that's what I should do. The easiest way for me to do that was just to cut it pizza style, so as you can see, that's what I'm doing here. The next part of rolling these 8 pieces of dough out was actually really fun. I had no idea what I was doing and definitely wasn't having a lot of luck in terms of getting it to roll evenly and turn into a longer piece of dough. But again, it was kind of fun. The dough is super forgiving. You can see I ripped it here, stuck it back together, and then I went for kind of a rolling effort or twisting effort to get this to become longer. But either way, really fun. Let me know what your tactics are for making pretzels. I would love some advice. And then you get to twist these and make them into cute little pretzels. This part was pretty easy and again, super enjoyable. And then one by one, we're going to take each pretzel and put it into our hot pot of water and baking soda. We're going to let that sit in there for about 10 seconds. We don't want to leave it in there for much longer than that. Otherwise, the recipe says it will taste metallic-y. I didn't experiment with this, but I don't like metallic-y pretzels, so I just took this at face value. Now, when you want to take the pretzels out, make sure to drain as much of the water off of them as possible. I was using a spatula with some holes in it to try and get extra drainage. This is what the pretzels look like when I've put them all on the pan. An option here would be to add some coarse salt to the top of them, and then we're going to stick them in the oven for about 12 minutes or until they're golden brown. And here is my finished result. I'm pretty happy with how these came out. You can see that there are some color differences, and I think it is chalked up to how I was rolling them out, which definitely is not the professional way to do it, but again, happy with how they turned out, and they taste really great. Thank you again for joining us on The Penny Chef, and I hope that you enjoyed this recipe.